Fowler has been Channel 2's chief meteorologist since 1987. Today, he goes down memory lane with me as he celebrates his 33rd year on the air at WCBD for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook.
The Wizard of Weather, Rob Fowler. Welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Hey, Quentin. Yeah, a little different setup. Usually you're here in our studio, but this is the new world we live in right now. So thanks for having me, Quentin.
You're very welcome. And congratulations on 33 years of WCB television.
Well, I appreciate that. Hard to believe when I came here September 8th of 1987. I walked in the old building, the old Quintin. You remember well, I'm sure. And little did I know, 33 years later, I'd be sitting in a different building on the same property at the same TV station as the chief meteorologist. But I wouldn't have changed a thing, Quentin.
What is the biggest difference between then and now in your mind?
Well, definitely in weather forecasting, we have so many more tools at our disposal. The forecasts are better, and the newscasts look better, slicker, and I think more informative. But, you know, there's still the old school part of me that liked to put the pen on the paper where I took the latitude and longitude when I was tracking hurricanes and tropical storms and put them on those tracking maps. But we don't do that anymore. It's all computer generated and all automatic. So that's probably one of the biggest changes that we've had to make, besides our physical plant here going from the old Quonset hut, which, believe it or not, withstood Hurricane Hugo in fine fashion, to the beautiful building that we're in now. And hard to believe we've been in here since 2002, so it's been 18 years.
Exactly right. What are you tracking right now when it comes to the forecast?
Well, we've got, of course, Renee and Paulette. Those are out in the central and eastern Atlantic. I'm not too worried about those. We've got something south of Bermuda that could develop. I think it's going to be more of a rainmaker for the Carolinas, especially North Carolina. But the one we kind of got our eye on right now, Quentin, is a tropical wave that's coming off Africa as we speak. Already a high likelihood of developing, probably will be named Sally once it does enter into the eastern Atlantic. And that's the one that we'll keep an eye on. I'm always reminded that Hurricane Hugo, we know what happened on the night of September 21st and the morning of the 22nd. But if you kind of back up a little bit, Hugo came off Africa as a tropical wave, as a disturbance on September 9th. So little did we know when it came off Africa on September 9th, 12 days later, what would happen. I'm not saying this wave is going to do the same thing, but this just kind of reminds us we got to watch everything.
Now, what should we be doing right now to be prepared just in case, God forbid, anything would happen?
Well, September 10th is the peak of the hurricane season, so we haven't gotten to the top of the mountain yet. So I certainly would encourage people, just in case, to make sure they know where they're going to go if they have to evacuate. Evacuations and sheltering is going to be different this year because of COVID. So fortunately, we haven't been in that situation yet, and I hope we don't. But we just need to be prepared. Make sure you've got a kit ready to go with batteries and water and some of those essentials. You won't have an electric can opener if you don't have power, so just a manual can opener. Things that you might not think about. A whistle, I always tell people to, you know, let people know where you are in case you are caught in some kind of rubble or some kind of a tough situation. You can blow that whistle and let them know you're there.
Now, I'm sitting outside right now, and it's cloudy and windy here in downtown Charleston, right here near Broad Meeting. What are the current temperatures right now, and what should we expect for the next 7 days?
Well, after coming off all those 90s, 21 days in August, we were 90 or better. We've been 90 so far here early in September as well. But I think we're enjoying the cool spell, and I think that's what we've got to look forward to. Now, a lot of this will be because we'll have more clouds and rain. So the rain chances will be increasing as we get through the rest of this afternoon and then over the next few days. But, hey, we'll take you right around 70 at night, low to middle 80s during the day. Not too bad. It's feeling good out there, no doubt about it.
And let me get back to you. Obviously, you wrote this on your Facebook page this morning, quote, on September 8th, 1987, I walked into the good old Quintin at 210 West Coleman Boulevard for the first time as the chief meteorologist at WCBD-TV, thanks to Michael Sutherland. Who was Rob Fowler in 1987?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. I had already been in the business. I worked in Savannah for about 3+ years, and I went to Green Bay for 2 years. So I already had kind of 5.5 years experience in the business, but I had never been a chief meteorologist, and it was always my aspiration to reach as high as I could reach and become a chief somewhere. And but when I followed up on the ad back then, Quentin, we didn't have what we have now in terms of applying for a job, it was basically in the back of a magazine that used to be called Broadcasting. There were classified ads. I saw the ad about a beautiful South Carolina coastal city looking for a chief. I answered the ad. I was a little discouraged because when I turned the magazine over, the actual date had been released was like 2 or 3 months before. And I said, there's no way that job is still open. But thank goodness it was still open. They were still looking for someone. And that's where Mike Sullivan came in. He was the news director at the time. I called him. I said, is the job still open? He said, it is. He said, send me your tape. I'm going on a cruise. And when I get back, I'll look at your videotape. And he did. He called me. They flew me down here. They put me up at the Lodge Alley Inn on East Bay Street. I remember walking out the next morning, calling at that time, my girlfriend, Cara, now my wife, and said, if they offer me this job, I'm going to take it. And the rest is history. I took the job. I went back to Green Bay. I immediately proposed to my wife, Cara, and in December, we'll be married 33 years.
And a matter of fact, I just saw her 2 weeks ago with Leslie Lyles. They were walking right down here on Broad Street.
They told me that. Yeah, you never know. Small world, Quintin.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I think that also points out that, there's been so many special people we've had the luxury of working with, and Leslie is one of those. We're still, even though Leslie moved away, she's come back. We still do things with Leslie. We still remember what we went through together with Hurricane Hugo, and that's a fraternity sorority. It's hard to explain that what you've gone through during Hugo will bond you with that other person for the rest of your lives.
And I know, obviously, you always wanted to be a chief meteorologist, and eventually you signed a 4-year contract to come here from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Why Charleston?
Well, I'd worked in Savannah. I was, at that time, home base was Atlanta. I was born in New Orleans, but we had moved to Atlanta when I was a kid. So I wanted to get back to the South. I love Green Bay. I met my wife there. The people are so nice. But I'll be honest with you, even as a meteorologist, the weather was hard to live in. So it was hard to forecast, and it was hard to live in. It was just too cold for this Southern boy. So I had to find somewhere. I love the ocean. I love the beach, even though there's that risk of having tropical weather. But as soon as I saw that ad pop up in that magazine, Quintin, I said, that's got to be my job. I've got to get that job.
And here you are. And you also said this on your Facebook post this morning, quote, little did I know that 2 years later, Hurricane Hugo would completely alter my life long-term plan of working in Atlanta. What was your plan while here prior to Hugo?
Well, I was going to do my 4 years, and I was going to get experience as a chief meteorologist, and I had some connections in the Atlanta market, which is the market, TV market I grew up watching as a kid, and I was hoping that I would eventually get over to Atlanta. But I know I mentioned in my Facebook page that the post that basically Hugo, before, during, and after, I just fell in love with Charleston. I fell in love with the people. The people before Hugo welcomed us into their homes. During Hugo, I saw the way people fought, and then after Hugo, I saw the way they recovered. And I wanted to be a part of that, Quintin. I didn't want to leave. I felt connected to this community at that time. We made a lot of friends. Of course, the kids came along later, and they had friends. So I just felt so connected, and that's when the management came to me, Mark Pimentel. Thank you, Mark. He's in Colorado now, but he said, Rob, we feel like you did a great job. We want to see this whole thing through. Would you be interested in staying a little bit longer? And 4 years became 6, 6 became 10, 10 became, 33, Quintin, and here I am.
Oof, here you are. And obviously we know how important you are to the community because you give back to the community so much. Why is community service so important to you?
Oh, gosh, I've always been a firm believer that once we decided to make this our home, we really wanted to make this our home. And that meant that we need to put down roots, and that meant we need to participate in this community. I tell some of our young journalists who come in here, and they're all like me back in the day. They want to climb the ladder. This is just a stepping stone for them. But I say, while you're in Charleston, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it might be, just invest in the community. You never know what you might get out of the community. When I went to Green Bay, Wisconsin, Quintin, I had a 2-year contract. I'm going to do those 2 years, get the experience, and I'm going to get out of there. But I met Cara up in Green Bay, and that was not something that I'd planned, but God sent me up there for a reason, and it was to meet my bride. So you just never know. You gotta leave the door open for just about anything. But I think this community is so important to us, and we just love living here. And anything we can do to help, believe me, we're going to jump right on board.
And you talk about the community. Obviously, from my understanding, you spent at least 69 hours straight on the air before, during, and after Hugo. What was your secret back then? Staying on the air. Oh, wow.
I was young and probably a little stupid, maybe. But that was adrenaline. At that time we had a very small staff, so it was really just me, and there was no alternative. So all the stuff we did leading up to Hugo, during Hugo, and then after Hugo, it was about 3 days with no sleep. And I probably couldn't do that now, but then we have a bigger staff. So we kind of spread the wealth around, and so happy to have Josh and David and Megan, that if there's some big impending, weather situation, we can all kind of have shifts and work together. And I just didn't have that luxury back in 1989, so we just did what we had to do.
Now, who during Hurricane Hugo actually changed your professional career?
Who did change my career, or how did it change my career?
Yeah, who and how?
Well, I'll tell you, Mark Pimentel, who I already mentioned in my Facebook post, he was our news director at the time. The way he led us through Hurricane Hugo was amazing. I think it was his first news director job. So he had come in, he didn't know us from Adam. He didn't know our strengths, our weaknesses. But I think in that situation, he put together a plan, and we implemented that plan, and it worked out. So I think I credit him a lot with kind of keeping the ship going in the right direction, and we were able to keep people informed and do the best job that we possibly could. And even though inside, Quintin, if I was going to sit here and tell you that I wasn't churning, inside, that would be a lie, because I was just as nervous as the next guy, because I had a home. I had Cara, and I didn't want anything to happen to my home or my family. So it was one of those things where I was just like everybody else, but I had a job to do, and we just got up there and did it. And still to this day, it's certainly very humbling when someone comes up and says, "Rob, you rode me all the way through Hugo with you," and I appreciate that.
Yes, indeed. And when I went back and looked at the 30th anniversary of your celebration here at WCB, Carolyn Murray said that basically about your traits: consistent, calm, and control. Where did you get those traits from?
I learned a long time ago. I've emulated a lot of people. There was a guy named Guy Sharp in Atlanta. He was just cool, calm, and collected. Didn't scream, didn't get in your face, just gave you the facts. And then I've worked with all these other meteorologists, and I've kind of cherry-picked bits and pieces of their personality. And I thought that's kind of what my general personality is anyway. So if I can take a deep breath and give people the information they need to know without hyping it up too much, I feel like we've done our job. I don't like to tell people what to do or what not to do. I just present the facts and show you the cards on the table, and then we have to play with those cards. So that's always been my philosophy, and will continue to be my philosophy as long as I'm doing this job.
Yes, indeed. And you also said this too. Obviously, you talked about Cara earlier, but obviously you've celebrated over 30 years of marriage with her. How has she changed your life professionally and personally?
Oh, she's the toughest critic. I'll remember our first home, we had skylights, and I would come home, and all of a sudden you'd hear the rain hitting the skylights, and it's a pretty loud noise. And she would be the first one to look at me and say, "Honey, didn't you say it wasn't going to rain today?" So she's my toughest critic. But no, overall, she keeps me grounded. I try not to bring things home, but she's very understanding. I'm gone a lot. I'm doing other things besides my actual, physical work here at Channel 2. Which I enjoy, and she enjoys watching me enjoy it, if that makes sense, for charities and Boys for Tots. But she's always been my biggest fan, my biggest supporter, and if I didn't have her encouraging me along the way, it would be really tough. But she's 100% on board and always has been.
And obviously, together you all survived 2 cancers. Obviously, you had kidney cancer and survived, and she had breast cancer and survived. Just like my mom, she survived breast cancer as well. What is your understanding of life right now, Rob?
You don't take it for granted, Quintin, I'll tell you that. I just turned 60 years old, and I thank God for every other day. And I've got a grandbaby on the way, and I want to watch that grandbaby grow up. So I'm trying to, like you, I don't run like you, but I try to stay exercising the best I possibly can and try to take care of my body. But no, I'm very blessed to be here. My situation was, it was very close to me not being here. Had certain people not done the right thing at the right time. And of course, so thankful that Carr's still here too, as a breast cancer survivor like your mom. And it was a scary situation for both of us, but you don't take anything for granted. You just live life to the fullest. And maybe that's also helped in molding my personality, to not let everything get to you. You just got to kind of enjoy the moment.
Absolutely. What does News 2 mean to you?
It's everything. It's my second family. You know, I'm so blessed to have an amazing family, my first family. But we always kid that with Carolyn and Brendan and now Sophia and Josh and all these, I probably spend more time with these folks than I do with my real family. So this is my second family, and it's such a wonderful atmosphere here. Everybody supports each other, and Tanya Estes, our news director, is amazing. Yes. She's the first one to pat you on the back, but also she's gonna tell you if you need to improve or do something else. So, but I like the balance. She's a wonderful manager, and she makes it fun around here. We laugh a lot. Believe me, that's the key. We do laugh a lot, and we try not to take everything so seriously. But I know it's a serious business that we're in right now, and we certainly, hopefully, we're giving people the information they need with this pandemic that continues.
And she still wants to take me out to lunch, so I'm telling her, Vickery, Shem Creek, I like their turkey pita, so I can go there one day with her.
And you know what? She's a woman of her word, so she will definitely take you out to lunch. I can promise you.
Promise you. And I know I was watching the 30th anniversary video of yours a couple of hours ago, and I noticed that Trey was a freshman at Clemson at the time, and now I believe he's a senior. Isn't that right?
He's a senior. Yeah, he will graduate here in the spring, and now he's looking at potential. Now, I don't know if I'm letting this out of the bag, but he's looking at potentially maybe going to law school. That might be on his docket. So he's taking a couple of practice LSATs and taking the real deal, and we'll get the results back here pretty soon. So rooting him on. He's a world cinema major. He still would like to dabble in making movies, but he's also kind of interested in becoming a lawyer. And knowing Tate the way I know him, he's probably going to be a politician someday. So you might want to keep your eye out for him, that's for sure. I'm proud of whatever he will turn out to be.
Exactly right. And how are the other kids doing?
Everybody's good. Trey and Amanda expecting our first grandchild here very soon. Kylie is still teaching, and she's got a serious boyfriend, and that may be something that's heading in the right direction, I guess, if you will. So as a parent, Carr and I couldn't be happier. The kids, and they're all here except for Taty's at Clemson, but I have a feeling he'll eventually come. And we're so blessed that they've chosen Charleston to be their home and just around the corner. And we let them have their own lives. That's being a parent. It's tough to let go all the time, but we know they're just a phone call away and just a few minute drive away too.
That is so amazing. The Wizard of Weather, Rob Fowler, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much, Quintin. Always a pleasure.
Likewise.